Hello and welcome to Taking You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I am your host, JP John Paz from the Two Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me is the former WWE World Tag Team Champion, one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
John, it's a wonderful day. Thank you very much. I'm doing tremendous.
Talking to somebody recently about you, and they really put you over. I don't know if you'll remember this guy. You really should. If you don't, I'd be surprised. But Tank Tolan, the old
Oh, I
OVW
know
WWE
Tank. Yeah.
superstar,
Yeah, I know Tank. Very nice. Very cool.
said learned a lot
How's
from
Tank
you.
doing?
He's doing great. He's a still Jersey guy. He's got his daughter, young daughter. He
Yeah.
seems like he's doing great.
What's he doing?
I forget what he said he was doing. If it was
Well,
sales or not, I forget what it was. But I got to message him and to check back in, see what he's been up to,
very nice.
work rise. But I know he's getting back in shape and getting back into doing some wrestling and some bookings again.
Oh, really? Well, good for him. So
Looks
he
like
was
he's
part.
in pretty good shape.
It was Tank, and who's his partner's name? What was his partner's name?
Chad,
Chad the Dicks. Yeah,
yes,
I can relate. Yeah, I can relate to those kind of gimmicks. You just kind of go, "What the hell?"
we
So
were actually saying because I said he said he loves you, huge fan. You told him so much, and I said actually he hated the Body Donna's gimmick, and he said, "Oh man," he goes, "Same exact thing with the dicks. I absolutely hated it."
yeah, yeah. So but live and learn, I guess. That's kind of what I did. I don't know if I learned, but I lived.
And we were talking like, do they do like ribs on people? And he said yes, because the dicks. I mean, come on, they could have spelt it differently, could have done this, could have did that, and they wanted a certain way because it's obviously part of a rib.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, only they know for sure. We can only speculate, and we can only start rumors and innuendo. But
Yep.
it sure sounds like a rib.
Yeah, to me, oof, weird.
Yeah.
Jason, hello, Jason. I hope you are well.
At least they didn't have him cut his hair and dye it blonde. Oh
Yeah,
wait, weren't they blondes?
at one point, yeah. Remember
Yeah.
in OVW they had him as blonde. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
I was being facetious there, but
Oh,
that's all right. Yeah.
Barbara, hello, good to see you. Hope you're having a good week.
Barbara, you're never late.
There you go. Now, just interesting. I was mentioning this to you off air. I don't know if you really were reading too much into it, but Vince McMahon just sold 8.4 million um, stocks, if you will, of TKO, which is the Endeavor brand of UFC and WB together. The total of that is $650 million. What did you think about that? Did you read into that at all?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to think about that because I don't believe Vince needs the money, but who knows? And it could be that he's wanting either out or he wants to get something. I mean, I don't know. Now that he's not in complete control, maybe he's playing around with the stock and living life a little bit. I would hope so.
Do you think that he is wanting to get out of WWE?
Well, that crossed my mind. But at the same time, knowing Vince as a workaholic, what would he do? He's not the kind of guy that would just go to a beach and lay there. I don't think he's that kind of guy that wants to retire and just sit around doing nothing. So uh, I don't know that if that's the case or not.
Hello, Ibsen.
Ibsen, how are
Hello.
you?
Hello, Ibsen. Yeah, to me, it's just like, wow, it's weird. Like, he sold that much stock. Obviously, $650 million is nothing to sneeze at. Great job. But that means that he owned 16% of the TKO stock. Now it's down to 12%. So it just seemed like, man, I don't know if this is strategic or if this is the way out or if he just wants a shit ton of money for something.
I think everything Vince does is strategic. That calculated risk he likes to say. So yeah, I think whatever he's done is strategic.
I know, obviously, he already made billions off of the sale in general. So, I mean, obviously, he's got nothing to worry about financially. He's doing great.
Yeah, and I think WWE is going to be doing great for a long time.
Seems like, I mean, they're
Well,
really lined up.
did you watch NXT last night?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I just saw something before we came on uh, about the ratings were down, but what does that even mean these days?
Yeah, it feels like ratings mean less and less because they're just killing it financially no matter what.
Yeah,
Because now they're on CW. Supposedly they got a deal that was like 15 times or 15% more than what they did have. So it's like,
right,
man, okay,
right.
the ratings didn't matter as much. Just they're going to make more money no matter what.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows?
To me, it's like with Vince, it just seems like, man, he's got to be up to something because remember, obviously, he quote unquote retired. Then all of a sudden, he came back and they were selling, and he had this deal basically in place with Endeavor. It's like, he's always kind of laying in wait. He's got something going on.
Well, that's
Something's
what I mean. Vince isn't the kind of guy that's going to go lay on the beach
yeah.
and be docile for any amount of time. So it's going to be interesting to see um, if he does pull out or if he sticks around, or I don't know. Well, what's his title right now? He's still on the board, right?
Executive member of the board. Yeah.
Okay, so he can still. Do they oversee the daily activities, or what is his exact job? Do you know?
Think he's still technically the president and then CEO. So I
So
mean, he's still technically the boss.
right, so he can still run stuff, and whatever $650 million will buy, he could buy.
And you never know. Maybe the stock is going down. Not to say insider trading or anything like that, but maybe he had a feeling the stock was going down. So hey, I'll sell high and get rid of it now.
Well, maybe. That's strategic planning in his part. So yeah, he had a strategy if that happened.
Barbara, didn't Dr. Tom say the fastest way to be a millionaire is to have a billion and then buy a wrestling company?
Yes, I did. Somebody else said that first, though. But yeah, that's true. How do you want to become a millionaire? Start out as a billionaire and buy a wrestling company. We'll clean you out quick.
Crazy though. Vince, the exact opposite. He bought
Yeah,
WB off of his dad for $1 million, and now it's worth 9.3 billion.
right.
So
So he did pretty good,
yeah, that guy
obviously.
Vince, he kind of knows what he's doing a little bit. It seems like
Sounds like it, yeah.
those people that like to rip him. I mean, I don't know if they have a leg to stand on. It's kind of a weird thing to kind of go after him.
Well, I think people like that draw the ire of people who can't, or just jealousy and envy and a lot of ridiculous stuff out there.
Funny, they'll mention the World Bodybuilding Federation or WWE Studio or something and say, "Oh, he's an idiot." Well, those are just other ventures away from his true passion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and who's the idiot? He's the guy that sold it for what, like you said, $9 billion. So he's okay. He can take being called a few names. He doesn't really care what you think.
Yeah, got rid of that mustache that he had going on, or that dye job with the mustache.
Whatever it was that an
Yeah,
actual mustache?
yeah, it almost seemed like it was a little bit of a rib, like he was doing it to mess with people, kind of thing. Maybe troll the public.
Well, that's what I thought first of all, because it was too well maintained not to be a rib.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
ATF Media. I heard Ronald Reagan's original speech in Berlin said Mr. Hands of Stone, Ronnie Garvin, punched down this wall. Can anyone confirm?
Well, Ronnie told me that's what happened, so I might as well believe him.
Wow.
Yeah,
Damn. I
Ronnie,
know
he did.
ATF loves himself some Ronnie Garvin.
Well, who doesn't?
True.
Ronnie's a great guy.
And he loves the Hands of Stone. Former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Ronnie Garvin, by the way.
How many title defenses did Ronnie have?
Ooh, not many. I mean, he held the belt for I think 60 days, so it was like basically 2 months. He won it in September, and then he lost it in November. So I don't think it was many. I know he beat Flair a few times in between on some shows, but
Well, I don't
very
think he
few.
had any. I heard him tonight. I was watching before promos, and he said he didn't have any title defenses. Just won
Really,
it and dropped it back to Flair.
really, in those 2 months,
Yeah,
it seemed like he had a few against Flair that he won. But
I don't know. He said he didn't.
those are some awesome matches. I love those matches with Garvin and Flair and the chops back and forth. Great, great. I know they hated each other, but great chemistry.
Well, did they hate each other?
Well, years later, I did a few signings with Ronnie. He said he legitimately hated Flair. He didn't like his lifestyle, didn't like
Oh,
the
that.
cheating,
Yeah.
like all this other stuff. So he said he legitimately didn't like him. Yeah.
Well, we like doing business with him, I'm sure.
Right. Right. Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I can see that.
But it's funny, and Garvin didn't really like Dusty, even though Dusty booked him to be champ. Weird.
Well, he said Dusty was against it. I saw a deal with Garvin tonight. So he said Dusty was against the title change.
Wow. So who overseeded Dusty on that one? That was Rick.
Rocket.
Oh, Crockett did. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense. And then obviously the big Starcade show would
Right.
mean that Flair wins it back and gets the title win,
Right. So,
which
but
Crockett
I
obviously
but I
was
did
all
hear
for.
Ronnie tell me that he punched down the Great Wall of China or the Russia. Where was it?
The
Mr.
Berlin
Gorbachev.
Wall.
Yeah.
Berlin
Berlin
Wall.
Wall.
Yep.
Germany. Russia. Whatever.
Yep. Germany.
Yeah.
Ibsen, one question. Last week you answered about Vince, Shane, and Stephanie and their training, but did you ever? But did Linda ever ask you to take her and learn to do some bumping?
Never did Linda ask for any kind of bumping. Never. She was the only one.
Did you ever think about training Linda though? Because she did step in the ring a few times,
No, never even came up.
but Stephanie came to you, or did they tell you to train Stephanie?
Stephanie came. Stephanie came and said we need to get in the ring. So
So
we went
she
to the
knew
studio. Yeah, she did.
from Vince and from Shane, like we got to go to Dr. Tom.
I have no idea if that's what they said, but I know she came to me and said we need to get in the ring. I said, yes, ma'am. We sure will.
Was she trainable,
Yeah, she was
coachable?
coachable. Coachable. Sure was.
Jason, I wouldn't doubt Vince investing that 650 million into another venture like real estate or another company. Interesting.
Well, there's a possibility. Something he can really get his hands into and play with and work on and create, make even more successful uh, things on the horizon.
Ibsen is saying it was reported that he is a part of the board. Yes, a president, but no control over creative.
No, but I think he has control over the daily business of the company, and somehow he's going to know what's going on. And while it may not be creative, I think he has control over a lot of things that we have no idea about.
Top Gun for Life Emerson, Ref Chris Vick from Georgia. Respect Dr. Tom so much.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Frank Nordquist, Dr. Tom Al Snow says everybody is a mark. Do you agree with that statement?
I believe we're all marks for something. I really do. I think we're all marks for something.
What are you a mark for?
Rock and roll.
Nice. I saw Sammy Hagar is coming right down the street from me next summer. I
Oh, are
was
you going?
oh yeah, I'll definitely go to that.
Did you see Aerosmith when they're up that way?
No, they actually Steven Tyler injured himself or something.
Oh, before they got to you, then.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, I know a couple people who were supposed to go to the opening. Was the opening show in Philly?
I think it was it was this area for sure, or around this area. It might have been Philly.
They played Philly, right?
Yep.
And then he tore it. Okay, so I think they saw him in Philly.
And then he got injured or whatever. Now he's been out ever since. So who knows if they're ever going to return?
Yeah, it's kind of looking real dim.
That's it's one I'd like to check off the list. There is go see Aerosmith for sure.
I've
Somehow I've
seen
never seen him.
Aerosmith. Seen him 3 times.
Oh wow, awesome,
They put on a hell of a show.
nice.
Yeah,
Jason, WB stock has endured steep drops in stock before. I'm sure it can recover.
I'm sure it can recover too. I think it'll be fine. WWE is pretty stable.
Oh yeah. Phil, good evening, John, Dr. Tom, and all the good people in the chat. Happy Hump Day.
Good
Nice.
evening, Phil. How many people do we have in the chat right now?
I am not 100% sure because it always goes up and down and it fluctuates. So I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
But Phil wants to throw in another thing dashing.
Dashing Vincent Man.
Not bad. Not bad. I
No,
like that.
not bad.
Vince destroyed the territories and got upset when Turner started buying his wrestlers. He did the same thing. Do you agree?
I agree, but that's what those guys do to each other. It's their game. That's how they play. He does this, I'll do that.
Wow. I definitely agree with that, and it's funny that Vince kind of cried and complained about it when Turner did it, but when he did it to the other guys, it was like it's business, pal. It's just business.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Chief Cook, what is the major problem do you think is wrong with Impact and it not joining AEW?
Honest to goodness, I haven't seen Impact enough to know. I really don't know.
Did you see they're changing their name back to TNA? They're rebranding.
I heard something about that. Why are they changing it back?
I don't know. I didn't see any like reason for it other than them saying that they want to bring back the exciting name and like innovation when TNA first started. They want to bring that back, and they were talking about the X division and things of that nature. But I don't know if it's a positive or negative because some people have a bad connotation of
Are they
TNA.
bringing back to the six-sided ring?
That I don't know. I wanted to see if that because their first show that's coming up. I wanted to see if that ring was coming back or not. That's
Well,
interesting.
I really don't know what's going on in Impact. Who's even in Impact? Bully Ray,
Um,
Dreamer.
Dreamer is Bully's still, I think yeah, Bully's still there. You got
Okay,
Steve Macklin, you got
okay.
Josh Alexander, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Frankie Kazarian. They got some pretty good guys
Who's their
in there.
champion now?
Alex Shelley,
Alex Shelley. Okay,
yeah.
well, good for
So
him.
it just seems like the rebranding of TNA. I don't know, like, and obviously tits and ass is what everybody, TNA is kind of was the joke at first. So I don't know if that's what people are going to think too when they think back to TNA, or are they going to think like a jokey TNA? I don't know if it's positive or negative. I thought they were on a good path with Impact because they kind of changed in a good way. I thought.
Well, I don't see it enough to make an opinion, so I couldn't tell you what's wrong with it and not joining AEW. I thought AEW was running shows with them, though, weren't they?
Not anymore. No. At one point they were, but the relationship ended.
Oh, okay.
But they are running shows with like New Japan and AAA. So Impact is definitely have good relationships with other companies.
Well, good for them then.
ATF is following up on Ronnie Garvin. He said zero title defenses. Garvin said in an interview Dusty wouldn't book him for not even one title defense. So there you go.
Yeah, that's what I heard tonight from Ronnie.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Scorch, I used to wonder why some second generation wrestlers were not trained primarily by their fathers, and it occurred to me that their fathers were always on the road.
Well, also, um, not everybody was treated the same. Some second generation guys were banished and told they don't need to be around the business, and others who wanted so bad to be around it and their dads wanted to help them just didn't understand it and couldn't comprehend it. So I I think that might have had something to do with it, but at the same time, there were a lot of second generation. Well, I don't know about a lot. There are a few second generation wrestlers who just lived so many years in that shadow that it was hard to make their own. So being on the road, I'm sure didn't help, but at the same time, I think if you're given an opportunity, you have to have some talent.
I do think Scorch has a good point though, because I feel like a lot of the wrestlers weren't around enough. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
train their kids because they're always on the road constantly. So better off having a Dr. Tom or maybe somebody else train their kid because they're not really home.
Well, that too, but in the old days, some of the guys went on the road with their dads and were
Right, like
getting
Terry and
ready.
Dory, right?
Yeah, Terry, Dory, Malenko, uh,
Brett.
Brett, Guerreros, um, you know, J- Eddie Gilbert, Jeff Jarrett. They all those guys had talent. Jamie Dundee would travel with Bill and get in the ring and just was exposed to that life from young age, and some weren't.
Brendan. Hey guys, just saw an interview with The Rock on Joe Rogan, I had no idea he worked with Candido. That would have been such a great match to see.
Yeah, he worked with Chris. I think he was on his second match, and I want to say it was in Corpus Christi, but it could have been somewhere else. And yeah, they had a great match.
Did you like working The Rock at that young? You know, like when guys first get in, they're like, "Ah, guy's stiff, or guy doesn't know what he's doing." Did you like working him when he first started?
Yeah, because we had already worked together in the studio so many times. It was just like going out and having a match. It was great. I had no problem with it.
I wonder whatever happened to him. I haven't really heard much from him.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure.
Magazine Retriever. Undertaker once told Baron Corbin, "Protect your finisher. Don't let anyone kick out of your finisher, and you don't kick out of theirs." Your thoughts, Dr. Tom?
I think once you have a finisher, kind of like the DDT, it's been just bastardized and overused to where it's not even. I don't think does anybody use the DDT as a finisher anymore.
No,
Just
Jake was just
because,
complaining about that. I saw.
right?
Yeah.
Jake protected it for a while, and nobody did it. And as a high spot and things like that, and kicked out. So that's a really good point. You want to protect what you beat people with, and you don't want to have them kicking out of it, and vice versa. You just figure something else to do.
I was actually thinking that last night when I was watching NXT and Corbin got the win with his finisher. I was actually thinking, I was like, Undertaker said to him, he said, "Don't let anybody kick out of this thing, just you
Yeah,
keep it strong."
yeah. So he's right.
And Corbin said in an interview he had a match with Cena, and Cena was like, "Hey, anything you do or don't want to do out there," which is very, obviously he's the big star, but that's great that he mentioned that. He goes, "Just one favor," and he said, "Sure." He goes, "Don't kick out of my finish. I don't kick out of yours." And Cena goes, "Done." And like that was the only planning they had for the match.
That's all you need sometimes. You don't have to call everything in the back.
I love that Undertaker saying that. I know obviously years later people would start kicking out his finish, but man, there was years there, good 7 years or so where nobody kicked out of the tombstone. I mean, it was a long time.
Right, right. But you also had to, yeah, look at the times and the way things were going.
Do you like when they do that? I know it's kind of like WWE style. Like even Lesnar will do this, and Reigns a little bit now. Like they'll kick out of their finish, but then they hit another one or another one. Like it's almost like you have to hit two or three of them to get to
Well,
get
I
a
think
finish.
it's a storyline. You got to go down, and then you got to come up with the. This is it. This is it. No, no, but you got to have something that goes even higher next time. So, I think it's just a storyline that you build for that. I think it's okay depending who it is and what the match means and where you are.
Do you like Baron Corbin's finisher?
What is Baron Corbin's
So it's like
finisher?
that swinging flatliner where he kind of takes you like this and he swings you right on your face.
I don't even think I've seen it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He nailed the guy with it last night. He beat Wes Lee last night.
Well, we were training last night.
Number one contender for the NXT title now, Baron Corbin.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes they'll bring the veterans up like Ziggler for a while when he did it. Like they'll put him on NXT to try to get the younger guy over to help him out and get him to be ready for the WWE main roster.
Well, that's what they should do.
I
So,
love it. I love it. Barbara, does Dr. Tom have the record for training the most Hall of Fame wrestlers?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I
I
don't know
think
who
Stu.
has that record, but I don't think I do.
I feel like it would be Stu Hart. If I was gonna just venture a guess, that would be
That
my
sounds
guess. Would
about
be
right.
Stu.
Yeah, guys like Stu or I was going to say Gotch, but maybe not. Stu Hart sounds about right. Uh, the guy in Minnesota, the Broken Road Warriors,
Sharky.
Sharky, Eddie Sharky.
Yep.
He's another one.
It's interesting. I was talking to Marty Jones. Remember him, the old British wrestler? And
Yes.
he was saying Billy Robinson trained a lot of guys, but he would never call it pro wrestling training. He'd say it was catch wrestling training. and that he wouldn't say it's not like it was almost like he was training it like a shoot.
Right.
You
And
like
that's what they
that
did.
approach?
No, I don't. I think that's it's a work. So why don't you learn how to work? It's nice to know how to shoot, I guess, but I don't think people want to pay to come. I don't think that style would work these days. I don't know if it worked those days. It's nice to be able to protect yourself, but do you really need it in the business you're going into? You need to know how to sell. You need to know how to work. You need to know how to draw money and get over.
Yeah, there were wrestlers from that era that were saying like, "Is this a work or a shoot? Like, you guys are really beating me up." And then the guys would get mad that they're asking, "What do you mean it's a work or a shoot? Like, this is real." And like they would get on the guys, and the guy was like, "What
Right.
the like they were shocked.
But you have to ask yourself, did that really work back then? Back then it was a different business. So these days, certainly not.
It's like Matsuda breaking Hogan's leg was like, thank God he came back. Like, was that the
Right.
smartest thing to do to a guy that could make money for the business? I mean, it's not the smartest thing
No,
in the
but
world
that
to
was the
do.
mentality back then, and it ain't
Yeah.
about the wrestling. It's
Yep.
not. It's just not about the wrestling. It's the in between stuff, and it's what you do in between the wrestling, and come to the ring and sell and tell the story and let it happen and let it breathe. And it doesn't mean you go that you don't have to have some great spots in there, but you do have to have some selling and storytelling. The basics and fundamentals never go out of style, but it's the in between the moves that count.
Good point. Del Mountain, Dr. Tom, do your students ever use the handful of tights move to pin their opponents?
Well, they do if the referee's not looking, but we have clean finishes.
Bill Long, loved you in Louisville Gardens. Eric was a perfect heel. Texas, woo, hang 'em horns,
Yeah,
woo.
that was that. Man, if there was ever a good wrestling building, the Louisville Gardens was it. They had the dressing rooms 2 flights down the stairs, two flights down the stairs, down 2 flights of stairs, and huge dressing area, and just a really good wrestling building.
Did you ever get Cornette's book about Louisville Gardens?
I don't think I did. He sent me
Oh,
one book. I think that was about the Memphis territory, though. No, I didn't get Louisville Gardens book.
oh, get that from him for sure. Chief says, what happened to Tessa Blanchard?
I know Tessa was here in Tennessee over the summer. She worked in Sevierville for Tommy Henry, but other than that, I have no idea what happened to Tessa.
So she went back to school and was doing that. So I think she was getting her degree and making sure she does that. But she was still wrestling, and she was still wrestling in Mexico a bit. She married Daga, but I guess she ended up being a little unfaithful. He got the divorce with her. She actually ended up now working for CMLL in Mexico. She speaks fluent Spanish, so I mean
Oh,
she fits in there perfectly. She's actually a really good worker too, but obviously she's had the extracurricular stuff outside the business that really kind of turned a lot of people off. Like she would be in WWE right now if it wasn't for attitude problems and stuff.
right, right. Well, I mean, what's she going to school for?
Oh, I don't remember. Tully told me I don't remember what she went to school for, but she graduated and got her degree. I don't know if it was nursing or some sort of
Wow.
something like that. But she was down there in Texas in the San Antonio area, and then I guess she's pretty close to Mexico. Was working for AAA a little bit. Married Daga, who was obviously a star for AAA. They got divorced, and now she's working for CMLL down there in Mexico.
Well, I know it's tough for women wherever you go, but I always liked Tessa. She's always been nice, and uh, she is a good worker.
Yeah, I feel like she's just as good as Charlotte. Everyone says Charlotte's the best. I feel like she's just as good as her.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe just not as charismatic, but she's
no, but she can learn.
oh yeah. Phil says Sammy Hagar, Michael Anthony, Joe Satriani, and Jason Bonham will be on tour.
That's a hell of a lineup.
And he corrected the spelling. He misspelled Satriani, but he corrected himself there. Yeah,
Very nice.
that's awesome. Yeah, and they'll be in New Jersey. I forget what month, but it's coming up in the summer of 2024. I was eyeballing that this morning actually when I was looking uh, at the who's coming up tours.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'd like again. I'm a mark for rock and roll tours. I'm a mark for all the pyro and all the theatrics and whatever else you bring.
I was with my boss, and he said Sammy Hagar is so much better than David Lee Roth. I said, "Wow, so many people love David Lee Roth," but he was saying musically, he said David Lee Roth is much better showman, more charisma.
Right.
But he said musically, Sammy Hagar blows him out of the water. I kind of agree.
Yeah, yeah. Musically, sure, but when I go to a concert, I'm going for the show, and if
Yeah,
they happen to play their instruments okay, well, that's a bonus. I'm going for the show first when I go to a concert.
that's why I love when I've seen Fozzy 3 times. I love them. I think Jericho is awesome as the frontman. People were like saying, "Oh, come on, you're crazy. They're not that good," but he's great as the frontman. He really gets everybody into the show.
Right, right. So more power to him. He's a rock and roll star, and he's a damn pro wrestling world champion. And I think he's a neurosurgeon. Buckaroo Banzai in the Eighth Dimension. You remember Buckaroo Banzai?
No, no.
Oh, you've never seen Buckaroo Banzai. Peter Weller plays Buckaroo Banzai in the, I think, Eighth Dimension. He's a rock and roll star. He's a spy. He's like a neurosurgeon or some. He's just
The Peter
genius.
Weller, RoboCop.
Yeah,
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to
Check it
check that
out.
out. I love him. Okay.
Buckaroo Banzai, and I think it's the Eighth Dimension.
I'm gonna have to check that
And
out. I love him
yeah,
as an actor.
yeah, it's crazy.
Chief says Billy Ray is still there. Yes.
Yeah.
Please ask Dr. Tom if any trainer would tell a wrestler to put his hands in his pocket like Orange Cassidy does. Thank you.
Well, I don't know of any trainers that would, but at the same time, I could see how I've come to the conclusion that the business will change. It keeps changing. Every generation has its style, but I look around today and I see somebody told me today that they heard Tony Schiavone say that he looks around the business today and he looks at somebody and says, when I look at him, I see somebody who's never had his ass beat, and somebody needs to beat his ass
Right.
because he's in the business. And so many people I listen to talk about stories they've heard, whether it's about Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart or whatever it may be, and they talk like they were there and they're part of the story. Um, that would never happen, or that didn't happen years ago, and everybody pretty much knew when to shut up and listen. And the business has changed, people change, styles change, times change, music, entertainment, everything changes. So I used to be hard on guys like Orange Cassidy. Now I just figure, well, it's going to be what it's going to be until it's not, until it has to go so far this way that now it's time for a change and people want to see the change. But that's going to have to be decided by who goes to the shows, because if people are coming to watch Orange Cassidy and he's selling merchandise and he's getting all these signs and stuff, if that's the case, again, I go back to what Paul Bosch used to say. He would paraphrase and say that he likes to go fishing, and he also likes strawberries. But when he goes fishing, he puts worms on the hook because fish like worms. In other words, it doesn't matter what he likes as far as wrestling styles or somebody. That's what Vincent's deal was. He would always say it didn't matter if he liked the guy or not. If he was good for business, he would bring him in. So if Orange Cassidy is doing business and good for business, it only makes sense to bring him in. But it doesn't have to be your cup of tea. It doesn't have to be my cup of tea. It just has to be whatever people are watching.
It's one of those things where maybe to the outside of AEW fans, he's not really over, or he's not really over with the casuals. But within that audience, he's super over. He sells a shit ton of merchandise for them.
Right. Right. So, it just makes sense as a promoter to have somebody that can make you money on your show.
Definitely. Please ask Dr. Tom if he trains wrestlers the way Iron Sheik trained him.
No, no, I don't. No, I don't. I don't.
Whatever happened to the alpha male Monty Brown?
Oh, he says Marty Brown there, but Monty. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what happened to Monty. Do you?
So I know he quit the business to kind of go home and take care of his sister. Lately, I'm not really sure what he's up to, but a while ago, we were actually texting back and forth about signings and all this other stuff, and it kind of never came to fruition. Just the dates and everything else just didn't work out. But seemed like if the money's right and then the timing's right, it seems like he would kind of come back and do something. But I don't know. Surprisingly, that nobody like Impact or nobody's reached out and brought him back. Insane.
Well, how long has he been out?
My God, he left the business in what, 2008, maybe 2007 ish?
So we're in 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Long
so it's
time.
been a
Long
while.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things
Yep.
have changed.
Big time.
So yeah.
When Randy Savage performed his flying elbow drop from all four ring posts, technically he did four finishers in one. He did that to Ultimate Warrior WrestleMania 7. Were you okay with that? Because Warrior does kick out of the finish.
For that time period, they were making Warrior this monster. So, for the storyline and for the time it was, yeah, I guess it did make sense. You know, Savage may not have liked it. At the same time, he knew business. He knew they were pushing Warrior.
Retirement match there too. Awesome match. One of my favorite WrestleMania matches of all time, for sure.
Tremendous.
Nobody told Ultimate Warrior not to kick out of another wrestler's finishing move. He did that to Triple H at WrestleMania 12.
Yeah, Warrior was a special case though. He was a
Different time for Triple H too. He was like not a
yeah,
mid card guy, but upper mid card kind of guy at that point.
right, right.
In some Japanese promotions, the fans wondered if this was a work or shoot, and it was actually both.
Which one? Which
I guess he's talking about New Japan, maybe, and All Japan and Noah.
oh. Well,
So
I've been,
some of that stuff over there is pretty stiff.
well, I've been in Japan I think 5 times, and all it was just extra snug. I mean, it wasn't. There was no shock. It was just we were told it was going to be extra snug, or everybody said it was stiff. But there's a difference between stiff and snug. Stiff hurts. Snug is just snug. And they were snug. And I worked with Fujinami a couple times. Um, it was in some tag matches with Anoki and Baba too, and I'm expecting chops and things like that, and they did, but they were no different than anything else I experienced.
Who do we got here? Jason, did all wrestlers at house shows have a match, or were there some talent at the shows as backups in case there were no shows? Something I've been wondering about.
No, back in the day, they booked at house shows. I don't think they book anybody on reserve. They just everybody had a match, and if somebody didn't show up, somebody usually worked twice, so they had to put in a tag team match.
Craig, a promoter hires a wrestler for $1,000 a week, but says you can be the champion, but you only get $750 a week. Who would have taken the $750?
I love him to death, but Chick Donovan.
Really?
Yeah. I think Chick Donovan would rather have the belt for at 750 than go for a grand.
Wow. Now, back in the WWF days, Hall and Nash, and many shoots have talked about this. They were saying that's the type of champion Brett was, which is interesting because you hear years later that he was negotiating with Vince for more money and this and that. So I don't know how true that was, but Hall and Nash said to Brett when he was champion, "Hey, you got to ask for more money," and Brett's like, no, that it's fair what I'm getting now. It's more than he was getting, but they should know because if you ask for more, then we all get more, and it makes everybody else more valuable. And they said that Brett really had a hard time asking for more money as the champion. So interesting that Brett might be in that bucket, according to Hall and Nash.
Well, it's Brett was getting a lot more than 750 a week though, and a lot more
Oh
than
yeah,
grand
yeah.
a week. So, and I think Brett was probably just grateful for the for what he was getting, and he wasn't that. I don't think. And while I know Brett, I don't know Brett that well, not that deep. But I would think Brett would be one of those guys who's grateful. And after living in Calgary and coming up through that hard knock family that he did, he probably appreciated what he was getting. But at the same time, Hall and Nash are right. If he would ask for more money, then they would have got more money too. Everybody would have got more money, I guess.
Those savvy businessmen, Hall and Nash, for sure.
Yeah.
Brian Mitchell, Tom, will you be at the Fan Fest in St. Louis in May?
As of right now, no.
ATF was saying here that Phil actually spelled Hagar wrong. So Phil came back and said he used to be an impeccable speller, but he tangled with Ronnie the Hand of Stone Garvin and was never the same.
Ronnie will scramble your brain so you can't spell your own name. And that was a poet. I didn't even know it.
Yes. Kenny Shamrock says the Fujiwara Gomi promotion had a legitimate shoot fight during the wrestling matches.
Okay, if Ken said that, then I got to believe him.
New Japan was actually trying this for a while too, which was interesting when Inoki was booking God in the 2000s, combining the wrestling with the shoot fights and like trying to say like you can't tell the difference of kind of which is shoot, but he didn't announce it as such. It was an interesting time. It was kind of I don't know. I thought that was a weird thing. What do you think about that? Do you like that or no?
You know, if you're gonna go watch MMA, that's one thing because not everybody's into that. And then I just don't know that putting MMA fights or shoot, let's say, shoot fight matches mixed in between work matches, you can tell the difference. Anybody who's been wrestling or watched closely can tell the difference pretty much.
I always thought that was kind of like a weird thing to do. Like, you know what you're watching. Like, okay, now we're doing shoot fights in between the wrestling matches. Like, kind of was more interested in, the wrestling matches. I feel like.
Yeah, because it was a little more drama, storytelling, and a lot more fun. I think.
Sam, does Rick, or excuse me, not Rick, David Flair, does he still have anything to do with the business?
I don't believe so. You know anything about that?
No, I heard that he absolutely hates the business. Connie is always wanting him to do something, an interview, whatever. He does not want to do anything. And if Connie can't get him to do it, he's not doing it. You know what I mean? He just doesn't want to do anything wrestling related. Hates the business.
Well, you can't blame him. I mean, he was an OVW for a little bit, and then it just kind of got to be too much.
Remember around WrestleMania 18, he did an angle with the Undertaker. And Undertaker beat the hell out of him, leading up to Undertaker versus Ric Flair. So that was kind of his like almost like last hurrah there after WCW.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if David's heart was ever into it because they didn't treat him too well.
Not really like the athletic type either. Not well, I mean, comparably to like Charlotte, who's doing flips off the top and everything else. He wasn't that type of athlete.
No, no, it
I know
wasn't.
different mothers too, so obviously that might play a part.
Yeah, and then I mean, it could just. It's not for everybody, and nobody knows what he went through, and how it affected him. So
And they always say that him and Rick never really got along. So maybe if him and Rick didn't get along, maybe obviously his passion might be it's like my dad liked it, I don't like that kind of thing.
well, it's the same thing as David San Martino, I think.
Yeah,
Those are big shoes to fill. And I don't know that Bruno and him got along that well.
definitely did not get along at all for sure.
Right.
ATF says, by the way, I'm a sports writer from mid Michigan, where Monty Brown is from. I haven't heard anything about him in well over a decade. Interesting.
Yeah.
He's in obscurity right now.
Well,
Hey,
maybe
Ibsen.
better off, huh?
Hey, Ibsen's back. He says, any
Yeah.
thoughts on Mr. Hughes as a trainer? He trained Apollo Crews and Heath Slater.
I like Mr. Hughes. We always have a good conversation when I'm around him, man. I like
What do you think
Curtis.
about him as a trainer?
I don't know too much about him as a trainer. I know he's trained like Apollo and Heath, but I've never been to a seminar with him. I've never been to his class, but I haven't heard anything bad about him as a trainer.
I think he trained A.R. Fox too, if I'm correct. So there's
Yeah, I
a bunch
think
of guys he trained that kind of,
yeah, I think A.R. Fox is doing the school in Atlanta too, isn't he?
yep, yep,
Yeah,
yeah, like an offshoot kind of after he left Mr. Hughes. Yep.
right. So, but I really don't know.
Do you
I've
think
been
a
around.
present wrestler having a wrestling school at the same time during their active, do you think? I don't think there's a good question, but do you like a wrestler that's active having a wrestling school while they're still active in the ring?
I have no problem with that whatsoever. EC3 has one. Seth Rollins has one.
Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes, Dustin.
Yep.
Yeah, I see no problem with that at all.
I feel like you might get more students because they
Yeah,
think like, oh my god, they might bring me to TV.
yeah, I agree.
Hey, your boy Zicky Dice was trained by Seth Rollins, wasn't he?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure he was. Yeah.
Maybe I
Frank.
won't.
I just read that Mantar died last July.
Did he?
Oh yeah, yeah, he passed away over the summer.
Wow. Did we talk about it?
I think we mentioned it maybe briefly because we had talked about how you guys used to maybe smoke sometimes together.
Oh, okay. Well, I forgot all about that.
Isn't that crazy? I had actually just interviewed him like maybe 2 months prior to that too.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. I don't even know. I'm not sure how he passed, but it was just like almost like out of nowhere. It seemed like he was back into it. They were making a little doll of him and all this other stuff, and like he's getting back in the swing of things, and all of a sudden he passed away.
Well, so he's back with WWE?
No, it was those independent companies. They always make those wrestling figures and stuff.
Oh, okay. I thought you said he was getting
No,
back.
like back in the swing of things, conventions and
Oh,
autograph signings,
okay.
and virtual signings and
I
stuff.
got you. Well, that's too bad.
Would Greg Gagne be another one trained by his dad who never lived up to expectations? Vern was far better.
I didn't see a whole lot of Greg. I saw very little of the tag team, he and Brunzel. But I, you know, Dutch talked about this. Dutch talked about second generation wrestlers who didn't live up to their dad's name, and he mentioned Greg Gagne. He mentioned George Goulas and some other, who else did you mention? Whoever else it was. I mean, I think it's all perception. Greg wasn't that terrible.
No, not really. I mean, he wasn't as good as Vern, but no, he wasn't that bad.
No, no. A lot of people weren't as good as Vern. Vern was good when he first started too. When he had hair, there's a match out there with Vern, and I don't know who he's working with, but he's in Madison Square Garden, and he's pretty good for his time. He could have fit in any era. Really could have.
Legit shooter too.
Yeah.
Phil says I think Mantar had a bad fall.
Ooh. Well, not good.
Why don't we see wrestlers using the pile driver anymore?
Is dangerous. Too many people were getting hurt.
Ibsen, what's one that you don't teach your students? A very important thing that they need to know.
What's one don't?
Yeah, like don't
Well,
do the pile driver.
yeah, don't do the pile driver. Don't don't run your mouth in the locker room. Listen, shut your mouth and open your ears. You're given two ears and one mouth for a reason.
Interesting that I was talking to Tank about that, and maybe his tag team partner should have learned that lesson.
Yeah, because your mouth will get you in trouble every single time.
It's also saying Mantar, the month he passed, he was supposed to take out a documentary on his wrestling career. Wow, interesting.
Oh, I had no
Wow.
idea.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. What is going on in the world of NWA? Do you have something coming up with Billy? Are you guys doing a seminar together?
We are doing a seminar on December 2nd in Coalfield, Tennessee, right outside of Knoxville. Then they have a show that night. Silas Mason will be on the show. Trevor Murdoch will be on the show. Some of the NWA talent will be there. Coalfield is a uh, great town for Joe Kazana Promotions. So yeah, we're doing a seminar earlier that day, December 2nd, and it's sold out. So we're gonna run 4 hours and get to wrestle in front of Billy Corgan, the president of the NWA, and who knows, the man himself will be there. So we have I think 30 people. We had to limit it to 30, otherwise it would have taken us all day long.
Right.
So
Barbara story in there. Hulk Hogan said he'd tell his younger self not to use a leg trap anymore because it ruined his back. Do you tell wrestlers to be aware of potential injuries?
yes, matter of fact, had a young guy Monday night doing the leg drop, and I explained to him, you keep doing that, it's just like Bobby Eaton's doing the Alabama Jam coming off the top rope. You are going to jam your spine. Or doing the headbutt off the top rope, same thing. You're gonna mess up your neck.
Good point. Definitely.
Yeah.
Razor Ramon used to sweep his feet before going to the ring. Do you teach your wrestlers that?
Yes, just to kick the dust off from walking to the ring, so you don't bring it in the ring with you. The ring is going to get dirty as it is, but if you wipe your feet off, it's a respect thing as well.
So I was going to say, big respect thing for sure. Yeah. Dr. Tom, where can everybody get your book?
Well, you can get that book at JP. Stop for a minute. JPWrestlingAcademy.com. Just click on the training tab at the top, and that's the way you can get it. That's JPWrestling.com.
Real quickly, thoughts on slapping legs?
Don't like it. I think people can see you slap your leg, and if you hit them, you don't. The same thud or the same pop wouldn't happen everywhere on the body. And if you miss and you still slap your leg, I think it looks like shit. Don't like it.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
Barbara wants to know, how do you get an autographed copy of the book?
You can email me at jpwrestlingacademy@gmail.com, and I'll give you all the information.
Thank you to Jason. Yes.
Thank you, Jason.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. Follow Dr. Tom on the X, aka Twitter, at Dr. Tom Prichard. JPWA, anything else going on in the world of JPWA?
No, I'm leaving for Altoona, Pennsylvania this Friday for a 2-day seminar with my friends Mike Lettieri and Imagine Wrestling. And then Thanksgiving is coming up, and I think it's going to be just a chill day on Thanksgiving and Friday.
Nice. Barbara wants you in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Of course she does.
Just to throw that out there.
Sure.
But thank you, everybody out there, for listening. See you right back here next week for a little Take You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. We'll see you next week, folks.